another edition of Authentically Detroit, powered by Eastside Community Network. This is episode number 2. We are broadcasting live from the Eastside inside of the Audio Wave Network studios. I am Orlando Bailey.
And I am Donna Givens.
And welcome to episode 2, y'all. Listen, we are so excited because we have a very, very special guest in the studio with us. He's going to co-host with us today, but he's also going to produce at the same time. So this multi-talented, multifaceted young guy. We went to high school together. We went to junior high school together. Did we go to elementary together too?
Where you go?
Carlton.
No, I didn't.
Okay. He is the owner of the Audio Wave Network. Everybody, please welcome JG.
Hello, good people.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're very excited to have you
This
here.
is kind of the first show I'm actually nervous to be on.
Why are you nervous, JG?
Just the first show I'm nervous to be on. But thank you for having me.
We're so excited to have you. How was your weekend? Everybody good?
It was great.
Good weekend for you?
Yes.
What'd you do?
I relaxed on Saturday. I did go down to the Bailey Park Project, and I helped out for a minute, but I had a little bit of a health issue, so I couldn't stay for long. But I drove by on Sunday, and it looked wonderful. And on Sunday, I was feeling better and hung out on Belle Isle. And the island is beautiful.
Belle Island.
Belle Island, right. It's an inside joke.
JG, how was your weekend?
Busy. Every weekend is busy, especially summertime. It was the first official weekend that I'm out of school, so that felt amazing.
Oh, you got summer vacation.
Yeah, for about 2-3 weeks. So it's,
I love it.
yeah, great. It feels good.
I love it, man.
How was yours?
It's a blur. So everybody knows that I contribute to Radio 1, and so one of the perks for working at the radio station is you get tickets to some of the concerts, and I was able to score some tickets to go see Monica, Jagged Edge, and Drew Hill. Although I didn't know who those people were with Cisco, because it's a whole new crew. But it was so great. They were at Freedom Hill in Clinton Township on Metro Parkway. It was amazing. I love Monica.
She's such an amazing talent. I just always expected her to go further, though. It's like, what happened?
She's so underrated. I don't know what happened, but
She missed the window for her style of music, I think.
no. JG.
There's still people making music who
Yes.
are older than Monica, but I think that it's a gift. There's a gift in having a beautiful voice, and it's a gift in figuring out how to move audiences.
Sometimes it makes me wonder. Hey, it was about where would I be?
But those big ballads of like the late 90s, she stopped for a minute. She took a pause, I think, because she had children, which is amazing.
Her momentum was lost.
It was lost.
She did lose some
that's
momentum, but she
true.
still has a huge.
I'm still a huge Monica fan. I love Monica.
her.
Oh, I think that
Yeah.
she's amazing. But I was, watching the BET Awards last night, and I saw her.
She was on the BET
And
Award.
She was on the award show, and she's so amazing and so talented and so timely, and it just makes you realize that music reinvents itself.
It does.
And the greatest artists can reinvent themselves over time. When you look at Ronald Isley and the Isley Brothers, all the way from when they started, when they were a doo-wop group, to
Mr. Biggs.
Do you know
That's
what?
the Ron Isley I grew up knowing.
You know what? But the Isleys, exactly, and they went from doo-wop, and then in the 70s, they made a lot of beautiful music. But
yes.
my favorite thing is they remade a lot of other people's songs.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time they remade those songs, nobody wanted to hear the originals anymore. So, Hello, It's Me
Monica
is a remake.
She has a window. Like, she can definitely. It's her time now. She just has to come out with music.
And maybe get the right producer who can help her figure out how to do like the Isleys and
Missy
last.
Misdemeanor Elliott, I need you to hook up with your girl one last time.
Right.
That'd be
'cause
amazing.
They were amazing together.
Yeah.
I
Never
had
too late.
I had the best time at the concert. Great seats. It was a lot of fun. So shout out to Radio 1 105.9 KISS Detroit for those tickets. Listen, so we will be dropping an Authentically Detroit episode every other Tuesday. I want you to get that ingrained ingrained in your mind. We are on all platforms. We're on Stitcher. We're on Buzzsprout. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on SoundCloud. We're on Spot. We're everywhere, okay? So just like church, every other Tuesday, I need you all to be listening for Authentically Detroit. And if you really down with us, go ahead and subscribe. And when we drop an episode, it'll automatically come to you.
So, speaking of Authentically Detroit, JG, our producer, and also our guest today, is an authentic Detroiter.
Straight from the east side.
Straight from the east side. You know, we authentically east side Detroit.
Where'd you grow up, JG?
A couple places. I'm from 48205, 7 in Hayes. I'm from 7 in Van Dyke. Van Dyke and Mac.
Ooh, 7 in Van Dyke. Van Dyke and Mac, okay.
Yeah, Van Dyke and Mac, Seaburn, Dickerson and Jefferson. I've literally lived on just about all parts of the east side. 7 in Conant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I touch every corner of the east side. So,
All right.
yeah, it's home.
So tell us about yourself.
I grew up on the east side. Me and Orlando went to Remus Robinson together. Then
Jeff Chalmers around the corner from Gray Haven.
Jeff Chalmers. It's weird that everything has a name now. We were in the after school program together, YOE. Went to DSA, greatest high school alive.
Of all time. To this day.
To this day. I kind of fell into podcasting accidentally. It was one of those things where I never thought of like radio or broadcasting as, my forte. I just thought, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out later. But we were just playing around one day, turned on some mics. This was maybe 4 or 5 years ago over there on Grayton, East English Village. And the podcast was born. So we stumbled along, and then the podcast network was born. Now we're home to over about 17, 18 shows. As far as the studio, Audio Wave Studio, we're on Mac and Alta Road. We record about 35, 40 shows out of both 2 studios we have over here. So it's amazing. It's an amazing experience.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So the most important part of all of that is both of you are graduates. You and Orlando are graduates from the Youth on the Edge of Greatness program.
That's a fact.
Yes, we are.
That's
We are. The longest running program of Eastside Community Network. We
Shout
got
out.
history.
Wow. That's amazing.
And we're still working with young people now. And so when you see young people doing great things, greatness was instilled in YOE.
It was. YOE was, at first, I think we joined YOE because I didn't want to sit in my grandma's house until my mom get off work. So it was like, all right, they have this program, and Orlando was in it. A couple other people I knew were in it. I'm just like, all right, cool, let's go. But the after school program was great, but then the summers were amazing. It was just
We had epic summers.
It was
JG.
the summers were literally the best part. Even if it was community gardening or just sitting in the classroom learning about building a resume, those things are still instilled in me today. I was driving up Alter because we had planted trees up Alter one time.
Yes.
And it was just I think they're doing construction, so all the trees are gone. But it was just man, I remember we planted trees right here.
Yeah,
So,
and we painted block club signs and things like that.
So much.
So actually, we have a summer youth workforce development program happening right now, and there are different tracks that they're learning from. I would love, while we got you on the air and on the spot, for you to come in and impart to the young people.
You already know. You don't even have to ask. I love the young people. That's kind of how I ended up. I'm a teacher now. I'm a teacher by day, so that's kind of how I ended up in that field. So whenever, I'm always down.
Love it. Well, welcome. We're happy that you're going to be
Thank
on
you.
this journey with us. I hope your nerves are gone away because we're about to get into some stuff
Pretty cool.
fresh off the press, y'all. Fresh off the press. Things or news that we are thinking about. All right, so the first bit of news is really, really, I wouldn't even say, it's really close and near and dear to us. The Hamilton Outdoor Rainscape Learning Lab has opened in the Chandler Park neighborhood, and it opened last Wednesday on Juneteenth. What better day to celebrate the opening of our Green Infrastructure Development Project than on Juneteenth? That was almost 3 years in the making, Donna.
It was. It was. And I learned during that event that while we were planning it, some people thought that I might be a little bit crazy because I kept talking about it and talking about it and talking about it.
Yeah.
And so now I had something to show for it. But it was a beautiful event. We had the best part of the event, when you have these press conferences, we didn't get a whole lot of press, although 910 did come out. And there were a couple other people, I think, who were showing some interest. But the best part is when the neighbors come out and they're celebrating with you because we're on their land and we have done something that is pretty transformational to the land, and yet they are celebrating with us. And the best part of that was that there's a family that lives next door with some little kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we've created this tree stump classroom with about 30 tree stumps in a circle. I drove by one Saturday and I saw the little boys running on the tree stump, and that just made me know we were doing something good because it was adding value to a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. And so when they showed up, that's how we knew it made a difference. But our funders were there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Kresge was there, the Herb Foundation was there, and the Institute for Sustainable Communities came all the way from Oakland, California to come celebrate with us.
That's amazing. And
Yes.
it was a lot of fun. And shout out to the authentic Jamaican food truck that made sure that everyone was fed.
Well, almost everyone.
Almost everyone. And for some of the demonstrators, our neighborhood leader and resident, Donna McDuffie, for demonstrating the water cycle with the young people and seeing the young people play and run around the rainscape. It really was an amazing feeling. Simone Lightfoot gave our keynote from the National Wildlife Foundation, and she was really, really powerful in tying Black liberation into the environment and water and sustainability. She was great.
Yeah, you know how like Coke has a spokesperson, and every brand has a spokesperson. You want your brand to be identified with this person who's just so awesome. They always make your brand look better. That's who Simone Lightfoot is to ECN.
Yes.
She is our spokesperson. We want to bring real challenges and really talk about things in an authentic way. Because this is authentically Detroit.
That's right.
She doesn't hold her tongue, and she is able to brilliantly interweave all of these different issues so that you can understand what we're dealing with is not about Detroit. It's not about our elected officials in Detroit. It is about systemic and institutionalized types of oppression that we're all dealing with. And so her view helps us open up, see the big picture, even though the fight is local. But going back to the food truck, the best part about the Jamaican food truck is I went there after all of the festivities were over to get some food, and they were out of food. So I was like, I would like some food, and they said, we don't have any more.
Who was in charge of this event? No one thought to save the CEO some food?
No, and so I said, great, I'm glad you don't have any food. And they were like, no, we're embarrassed. And I said, no, the first they said, why are you glad? And I said, because, we paid for it. And they said, okay, well, we apologize. We would have put some away. And I said, but it makes me happy to know there were so many people here that you ran out of food, because that's how you know your event is special, or when you know it's been successful is when you plan on feeding 75 people and then there's not enough food for you at the end of the event. When you start sending people home with big plates, either you order too much food or not enough people came to participate in whatever you were doing. And so it was great participation. Everybody ate well.
Yeah.
Orlando coordinated this and did an exceptional job. So shout out to Orlando for just doing the best job, really, in highlighting everything. Everything was organized to a T. And also to Ricky Ackerman, and on our staff, who is overseeing our green growth, and Suzanne Clegg, who helped with the planning of it. Yeah,
I want to give a quick nod to 9:10 a.m. The feature on the Rainscape will be coming out sometime this week. We want to thank Curb Detroit for running a feature, the Kresge Foundation for putting us in their newsletter, and Model D will be also running a feature that's going to debut this week. So just be on the lookout. We're getting a lot of press after the fact, but I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Fresh off the press.
Okay, fresh off the press. So we're going to talk about police right now and what's going on with policing in our community.
Yeah, so our friend, JG's and our friend, Tashif, known to the broader community as Sheafy McFly, was arrested by the Detroit police while painting a mural that was commissioned by the city of Detroit here on the east side. And so there was a story that ran now not only in the Free Press, but in the New York Post, the Washington Post, the New York Times.
Oh, wow.
So Tashif has made, I'm sorry, I still call him Tashif because that's what but Tashif has made national news. And there's something to be said about the lack of interconnectedness amongst city departments, right? So the police work for the city of Detroit. Tashif was working on a mural commissioned by the city of Detroit. Where is the internal communication that alerts cops that this isn't a vandal? Even after Tashif, the story says that Tashif tried to tell the police officers that he was working on a mural for the city of Detroit and that he had license to do so. And things just sort of escalated and he was arrested. It was his first time ever being arrested. And he was taken in. He posted his mugshot. There's a mugshot. He has a mugshot and everything like that. And so the Free Press article also highlighted Tashif's reluctantness to go back and finish the mural and just having fresh trauma from having that kind of experience. This is a guy who I grew up, I've literally known Tashif my entire life. He's never been arrested. He's never done anything that would have him encounter police in this way.
But I want to, that's horrible. It's, and we all were upset. I think anybody I know who read the article said this is just terrible. But it kind of makes me think about something, right? Because Sheafy McFly is a person who is a recognized muralist, and he has the backing of wealthy people, and he has access to permits, and so he has a certain elite status in this community. And let's face it, he's never been arrested. It makes me wonder about a young guy who has access to none of that, but he's got talent and a voice and something he wants to communicate. And he can make art look as beautiful as what Sheafy did. Mm-hmm. But he goes to prison for doing the exact same thing. So you can be you can be hired by people with money to perform the same work that people without money have been doing for years and getting criminalized. Mm-hmm. And if they have a record, they don't have necessarily access to a good criminal defense, and they may be serving time for doing this exact same thing. The whole construct of all of this muraling saving neighborhoods, when graffiti artists have been seen as the destruction of our neighborhoods and are going to prison, really speaks to class privilege as much as it does this whole thing and its commodification of black culture, where we can take urban culture and make it something cool for the new people coming in. But when that stuff has been here, because muraling is not new in the city of Detroit, it was seen as destroying the community. And I think that we really have to be willing to look at the social justice roots of us always having to justify things like, but he had a permit, but he was paid, but he had. And it's like, oh, well, this one exceptional black man deserves a different type of treatment than the people we thought he was. And I want to think about what that means.
That's powerful. I think it's like the Sheafy situation it's so unfortunate for our community. Like, he may really be traumatized from this and never want to like paint another mural. Like, just imagine what that means for like the murals that he had planned or the art that he was going to work on. That could have traumatized him.
Absolutely. Or he just may say, I'm going to leave this city and go a place where I know I'll be safe, because every community does not do that. This is one of those things that's done in places where we're still uneasy about it. Remember that one muralist who was hired to do the mural on CompuWare's building, and then he was arrested, or there was warrant out for his arrest for tagging something without permission. So if Dan Gilbert pays, or I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to talk about people by name. I'm trying not to. But if somebody from Quicken pays, then it's okay. But if you do it on your own dime, you buy the paint, you find the building that you want to tag, even an abandoned building that's coming down, you're subject to criminal offenses. And so I think that there are two types of injustices. One is for a guy who was knowingly following the law, not doing anything wrong, and had permission, and he was still locked up. And the other one is for the guy who should not be locked up, perhaps, for doing the exact same thing.
I think there is something to be said about some of the artists that have made it to this other side where there has been white commodification of this very black art scene and platform that has been going on in the city of Detroit versus those who are still underrepresented and under the radar doing amazing work. And one of the things that I've said, and I put this in a proposal to a very reputable foundation, and I didn't get it funded, because whatever. I don't want to go there. But there's something to be said about artists in the city of Detroit creating the culture that we all love and enjoy, right, and profit from, that they are still unable to monetize this culture that they helped create.
And that takes us to
sad.
a whole nother story, right? And it's one that some of my friends who are freedom fighters and social justice workers in the city of Detroit are conflicted about. Because here you have these artists who have made a space on Grand River cool.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Using mural art. It's mural art when somebody who has money pays for it, and it's something else when you do it on your own. But anyway, they did all this mural art on Grand River, and they created this, what do they call that area?
I don't know. Creative corridor?
Some kind of
Something
corridor.
I thought this was a creative.
Yeah, I'll look it up. Go ahead.
But there's a name for this corridor on Grand River. And the value of the building went up. But, of course, the cost of owning any building in this city at this time with property taxes, but especially stormwater drainage fees being what they are, it's really hard to operate buildings affordably. So there's a nonprofit that has been at the forefront of the fight for social justice in the city of Detroit that purchased the building and evicted all of the artists who helped instill worth in this building. And so, it just raises some questions for me. And, I've heard a lot of people say a whole lot of things about this. And if this was the only building they could have purchased and done this in, that would be one thing. But the rationale is that we need space so that we can fight our social justice fight. But when you birth your social justice location in evicting people, I just believe that we shouldn't dismiss the moral implications of what that is or the ethical implications of what that is.
Yeah, it's a tough situation, and I think the nonprofit in the Bridge magazine article, if you guys haven't read it, acknowledges that it is a tough dichotomy that in order for them to reach the vision that they have set out for themselves, that it is at the expense of artists that have created a culture, that have created literal economic value in neighborhoods for them to now get eviction notices. It really is. It really does seem unjust. It
does. And there's so much vacancy in Detroit that if you wanted to develop without displacement, and I believe that's one of the, the clarion calls of people associated with this movement. They have T-shirts, development without displacement. Well, if one of us
have T-shirts that say that?
development without not them specifically, but their allies do. And I don't want to name the nonprofit. You can look it up. But there are T-shirts that say development without displacement. There are people who are arguing this whole notion. And so when somebody develops and displaces, if it's your ally, you don't call them out. Instead, you say, well, it's not really them. It's the larger forces at hand. If somebody who was not one of your allies said that, you wouldn't buy it. There are empty school buildings in Detroit. There are empty commercial spaces right here over on the east side on Mac. Let me help you out. If you're looking for space, we can help you find some space anywhere in the city. So when you have $2 million to spend on a building to house folks, and you're looking for a place to do it affordably, 313-571-2800. Call me and ask for some help, because I can help you find some space. But what you cannot do is displace and say we didn't have any other options. What you really need to say is we made this choice. This is where we're going to be, and be accountable for your actions. I say that to every single nonprofit. We all have an opportunity to at times displace and disrupt other people's business.
And we've learned our lesson personally. ECN has. Yes.
Okay. Tell the story.
Yeah, so we owned West Village Manor in West Village on Agnes Street. We developed West Village Manor. We were renting affordable units at about $500 to $550 per unit on Agnes Street in West Village, and we secured two of the anchor tenants underneath the living space, Detroit Vegan Soul and the Red Hook Cafe coffee shop. And we sold the building. Because we could not figure out, our commercial real estate subsidiary at the time could not figure out how to make the building more profitable. So I think we were losing money at the time trying to maintain and build out those buildings. And we sold the building to a developer who raised rents. Donna met someone who said, "Oh, you're from ECN. Well, you guys are the reason why I was gentrified from my apartment and had to go somewhere else." So this is a lesson that
I did not know y'all owned that.
And what Donna is saying is so true, and it's coming from a pure place, because this is a lesson that we had to learn ourselves, right? So I think who better qualified to talk about this than us? And we want to help our comrades and colleagues in the community development nonprofit industry to be leery and be careful of that. The neighborhood was on a tipping point. There's no more affordable living in West Village.
I think, just to your point, to give you credit as well, Orlando, the reason we're here is because of Orlando. Like, I was looking for space, commercial space to open a podcast studio. We didn't have a lick of funding. It was just, we were coming from the basement on Grayton to, hey, I can afford this amount. Do you know where I can go? And I trust Orlando just because he knows the East Side. Like, he knows the East Side through and through. So I knew he would find me a great space, and that's why we're here. So just to your credit on that part, but it's so much space over here. It's so many. The furniture store on Mac and Chalmers.
I want that to be occupied.
That's the bank right across the street.
Right.
Like, these are, I drive past them literally every day and just look like someone's gonna get it. Someone's like,
right. But here's the thing though, if somebody has gone into the furniture store and added value, now Orlando's already claimed it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so have I, But if somebody goes in there and they add value to the space, and you get the resources to get it, the question is, what do you do? Are you entitled to have what you want to have because you're going to do something good with it? I don't know anybody who opens up a business who does not believe they're doing some level of good with their business, even if their good is making money. So I don't think that the ends justify the means. And if they do, I think that we have to be very careful about what that means. That displacing existing businesses, and that's what gentrification is. In almost every instance, you have an artistic class or a group of people who move in who don't have a whole lot of resources, and they get displaced. They make a place livable. They make a place attractive, and then they get displaced by people who bring big checking accounts. So I don't want to beat up on this nonprofit. It's a learning for them. I hope they do learn. But the first part of learning is taking responsibility for your error, taking responsibility for your mistake. If you are unwilling to do that, then what happens is the learning becomes something very different. And that is, I did the best job I can and people aren't grateful, and we agree to let their mural stand on their wall. What else do they expect from us? And
Yeah, that's insane.
so what else do we have in the news, Orlando?
Fresh off the press, Ta-Nehisi Coates' reparation speech on Capitol Hill. We want to talk a little bit about this, and I believe that we have a very short clip that we want to play, and then we're going to come back and unpack a little bit of it. He, to set this up, Ta-Nehisi Coates testified in front of a congressional committee along with a few other folks last week, and he's getting a lot of news, especially in his direct response to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Take a listen.
Yesterday, when asked about reparations, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell offered a familiar reply. America should not be held liable for something that happened 150 years ago, since none of us currently alive are responsible. We grant that Mr. McConnell was not alive for Appomattox, but he was alive for the electrocution of George Stinney. He was alive for the blinding of Isaac Woodward. He was alive to witness kleptocracy in his native Alabama and a regime premised on electoral theft. He was alive for the redlining of Chicago and the looting of black homeowners of some $4 billion. Victims of that plunder are very much alive today. While emancipation dead-bolted the door against the bandits of America, Jim Crow wedged the windows wide open.
Wow. Donna, I know you have so much that you want to say. Please.
Well, I mean, I was born in 1963, so I was born prior to the passage of civil rights legislation. When Martin Luther King marched in Detroit, my mother was the only person in my family who could not march because she was carrying me in her womb. And as I mentioned in our last show, I lived on Chicago and 12th Street. So I witnessed the riot or the rebellion or whatever we want to call it. I grew up in a very racist city. As a teenager, I worked with my cousin at Baskin-Robbins in Rosedale Park, and my boyfriend at the time picked me up, and we were chased through Rosedale Park on the floor. People were throwing bottles at the car and shooting at us with calling out our names. So when people talk about what we haven't lived through, my dad went to medical school at the University of Michigan, and my mother could not find a place for them to live until she wrote a letter to the Ann Arbor News. And somebody agreed to rent my parents a place to live because they did not let Negroes live there. So what I'm not going to do is to pretend like the harm that was done, even from what I knew as a child, is limited to slavery. And then I grew up and I started learning things and realized how fortunate we were to live in the city of Detroit and to be able to live in the homes that we did. We don't live too far from where Dr. Ossian Sweet had a mob surround him and had to defend his family with guns. And he was acquitted. First black man in the history of the United States to be acquitted for defending his family. I don't know if there have been too many after shooting white men and living, but that was not. I mean, we know about the Birmingham bus boycotts, and we know about all of these. We know about what happened in when they did in Selma. We know about these things. We know about people who went down south to fight for civil rights. And we know that there are people who are in Congress right now who worked with and allied themselves with very people who were willing to oppress, kill, maim my ancestors and me. We know that some of those people were Republicans because we understand politics, right? And we know that Democrats in the South became Dixiecrats and they became Republicans. But we also know that there are some people in the Democratic Party who also called those people their friends. I would never, ever brag about being friends with a monster. And anybody who could do that to my people is a monster. So for me, it gets very emotional. I read The Color of Law. I read The Origins of the Urban Crisis before then and
That's right.
understood that these were not accidental personal prejudices. These were systemic, institutionalized things that our government did to us because our government did not want us to live together. We had housing apartheid. It was intentional. It was not accidental. In 1968, the Housing Rights Act was passed.
FHA.
In 1971, the FHA had some appraisers who were investigating for helping to sell homes to women on welfare, black women on welfare in Detroit that did not have furnaces or working plumbing systems. And when those women could not afford, because they were on welfare, to fix these homes up, the homes ended up defaulting, and these women were called irresponsible. So we know that happened in 1971. Thank you, FHA, for stopping your discriminatory practices. And then you turn around and replace discrimination with predatory practices that lasted until the early 2000s.
Crisis.
And we had a whole housing crisis with the loss of black wealth and targeting of our people.
Especially
and I haven't
in
even
Detroit.
started talking about mass incarceration. I haven't even started talking about lynching. I haven't even started talking about rapes of black women that went unprosecuted and rapes of black women that still kind of go unprosecuted in Detroit. How many rape kits were there in the city of Detroit? So are we owed a debt? When you create emergency management and you
take away democratic power,
the democratic power over governments and schools based on nothing but metrics for crisis you created. You cut taxes, cut revenue sharing, intentionally starve municipalities for the revenue they need to come in, and then say, oh, you're being irresponsible. We need to put you on a budget plan and control your government. Then you put an emergency manager over there who ends up paying for no-bid contracts all over the place, enriches all of your friends and colleagues, and then
sells city assets,
and then walks away and says, I'm sorry, my bad.
Job.
We may have made some mistakes, but that's in the past, folks. Don't look back. Just look forward, because we did it with good intentions. At some point, we've got to come to a reckoning where we understand there are real consequences, and people suffer as a result of all of these policies.
And I think when we start, and I think this is where it gets tricky, and shame on Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell for his comments, but here's where it gets tricky, and here's when Dr. King began to get in trouble. Here's my assertion. It is this, that certain legislation, even during the Civil Rights Movement, didn't cost the United States anything. It didn't cost real money, right? The Voting Rights Act didn't cost the United States economically, right? But when Dr. King started talking about housing equality, when he started talking about living wage jobs and declared this war on poverty, and started demanding that the United States government do things to economically boost communities of color in the United States of America, then that's where it became problematic. And I think we are seeing something that is cyclical. Now we're having a conversation beyond just social justice and what the inequities are, but now we are ringing the doorbell on the economics of it all, saying, hey, something has to happen. There has to be a reckoning. There has to be repayment for this. And I believe that we're going to see, I believe this is only the beginning, and we're going to begin to see this vehement and sometimes violent opposition play out when we start talking about the disbursement and the disruption of the economic structure of the United States.
There are so many people in America who make money off of black people's pain.
Mm-hmm.
Everything from the people who operate the phone systems in prisons to the people who operate the payday loan companies to the people who give predatory loans for cars to the people who the pawn shops. There's a whole economy built up on pain. And the housing industry in Detroit, you look at this guy, what's his name, Kelly?
Mm-hmm.
Michael Kelly
Can't remember his first name.
was selling these homes by land contract to people, and I think he's facing criminal charges. But he also did a really nice deal with the city of Detroit to facilitate the FCA sales, the Fiat Chrysler automobile land acquisition, where he got some additional property. So what you see to me is a lot of people making money and almost no accountability. Who went to prison for selling reverse mortgages to senior citizens with bad terms? Who went to prison for selling predatory loans to all of these people with bad terms?
Nobody.
We're locking up graffiti artists.
I want to just preference my opinions, in fact, and statement on this. If you paid out reparations to Native Americans, if you paid reparations to Japanese Americans for internment camps, why is it so hard and just difficult to realize that African Americans should be paid reparations? It just like Japanese Americans were in internment camps for maybe 3 to 5 years. I could be off on my numbers, right? During World War II. So if this lasted 3 to 5 years, maybe 7 at the max, and you're giving them $20,000 a person for their internment in this camp, which I'm not going to say the camp was like
They were paid for their suffering.
I
but
think
that's the problem. Has the suffering stopped for African Americans in this country?
has the harm stopped, but I think that
There you
goes
go.
to
That's a
the very
question.
core of what's going on in racism in America today.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody, well, very few people will ever claim to be racist, but we somehow manage to maintain institutionalized systems of racism inside of our nation, and people are okay with it. People see black men being shot in the back and falling on the ground and dying, and black people are sick to our stomachs, and white people are like, well, but did he surrender in time? Was the cop seemed afraid? And so we have these two different lenses of looking at things. One lens insists that we live in a fair country and that anything that black people have is by virtue of whatever we've earned. And when is enough going to be enough? You guys have you've been free for 200 years and all you do is complain, move on. My people came over here as immigrants and they don't complain like you. And so you have these narratives around worth and value and what people have earned, and this belief is that we have a meritocracy, that America has earned the right and privilege to live like this. And it's that belief system which, does a lot of convoluted thinking that allows people who say they are right to life to see children in cages. It's that belief system that puts patrols on borders between the United States and our southern neighbors, and people really wanting to see these people destroyed because they have to be punished for trying to come here and trying to take some of our good life. That's how black people are seen inside of America to me, as people who want to take from whatever it is, the narrative we have about ourselves. This Ta-Nehisi Coates does a really good job of describing it in his books, and it's kind of hard.
He does.
This whole concept of whiteness is at risk. And I'm not going to be able to do justice on that whole thing, but there's this concept of whiteness, which is a social construct that people
There we
have
go.
created
All
to
of
say
it.
these are the people who belong and these are the people who don't.
Mm-hmm.
And some of us can, by virtue of how we carry ourselves, act, talk, and maybe even look, be included in this construct of whiteness. But most of us won't be. And I think that when you understand that, then you can understand that their whole way of looking at us is different. If they're looking at Japanese, we took something from Japanese people who deserve their wealth, and we're sorry, and we'll give it back to them. What do they think we deserve?
Nothing.
Well,
That's
And
deep.
that's the unfortunate part. Is just it's nothing. Like just to think of that. Like you strip generationally. You strip everything. Like you. It's like to come in this country as product instead of by choice. Like give me the option to come to this country.
Come into the country by product.
That's why when people say we're a nation of immigrants and everybody but Native Americans came here by way of immigration, I lose my mind because
No way in hell.
immigration happened on Ellis Island, and my
Talk about
people
it.
did not come by way of Ellis.
We sure didn't. You.
Well, and some of my people did, right? But not the ones who claim me. Some of us, because there's a lot of mixing of our heritage, and people will point that out. But, we were still held as, slaves. All right. Orlando wants to move on to something brighter and happier. Do we have something?
Yeah, we're gonna cut this segment short. We're running long, but we want to do one more fresh off the press story. I don't know how many of you watched the BET Awards last night. I know that I was not in the number, but I heard some pretty amazing things. One of the speeches that is getting a lot of attention is the acceptance speech from Tyler Perry after he received the humanitarian award. We want to play a little bit of that clip. Take a listen.
The Icon Award.
The Icon Award.
It was Icon Award.
Take a listen.
While everybody was fighting for a seat at the table, talking about Oscar so white, I said, y'all go ahead and do that. But while you fighting for a seat at the table, I'll be down in Atlanta building my own. Because what I know for sure is that if I could just build this table, God would prepare it for me in the presence of my enemies. Rather than being an icon, I want to be an inspiration. So thank you, BET, my new family. Thank you, everybody. I want you to hear this. Every dreamer in this room, there are people whose lives are tied into your dream. Own your stuff. Own your business. Own your way. God bless you. Thank you, BET. Thank you, Scott. I love you guys. Thank you.
Woo! Said a mouthful there.
He did, and it's a perfect segue from a
So many
conversation
gems.
about reparations, because what it tells me is that we're responsible for building our own kingdoms and building our own equity
Building our own communities.
and building our own communities, and we cannot wait for the people who would enslave us, for the people who would sell us those bad mortgages and take away our government, and the people who would put us in this substandard housing. We cannot wait for them to come and care. We have to love ourselves.
That's right.
And we have to dream, because people are counting on our dreams.
The Swahili word kujijagalia, self-determination.
Man.
That's right.
That's right. I love it.
I think for me, it spoke on so many levels. The first one being not waiting for the Oscars to recognize him, not waiting for Hollywood, white Hollywood, to give him a seat at the table. He built his own table. So all right, y'all eat over there. I'm gonna eat in a neighborhood where my people are. I'm gonna eat there. So that always spoke to me. Like just that thinking, that mindset always spoke to me, because it's like I could have this studio on 10 Mile and DeQuinder,
That's right.
out away from my people. So why should I do that? Like why should I go somewhere where it's not people? Like this community is literally, it's bordering Grosse Pointe, but this community is what raised me. Like I was raised in this area, on every East Side area, as I pointed out.
the East Side.
But then the next thing he said was, I don't want to be an icon. An icon is individual, like it's individuality, right? So I want to be an inspiration. Like you can be an inspiration, but be a part of a group. I can be an inspiration to everyone. Icon is like I'm up here and you guys are looking at
There's
me.
an elite
And,
status.
yeah, it's elite status.
Yeah.
Like I'm reaching to get to your plateau. But an inspiration is I can more so pull you up. Like I got you. Like we're together. I don't have to worry about, you don't have to just, I'm not going to separate myself from you. I want to be an inspiration to you. That way I'm pulling you up instead of, you just looking at me like, oh, one day I'm gonna be like him. It's like, nah, you can be like me. Let's go. Let's do it together. Let's figure it
I
out.
like
Right.
that. I like that. I always applaud every time a black person wins in this capitalistic society when they figured out capitalism and how to capitalize on it. It is my hope sometimes, and I may get in trouble for saying this, that when we figure out how to infiltrate and win at capitalism, that we also are figuring out a way to disrupt it so that we can bring our folks and stuff along with us, because again, it's one of those structures that Donna was talking about earlier, that beyond people having a good heart and not being racist, it is rooted in systematic racism, this capitalistic structure that we live in. So applause for black folks who are winning at that capitalism game, but be sure to teach the game or get rid of the game altogether.
And I think that Tyler Perry does that.
I think so too. He puts everybody to work. Everybody got a job.
Everybody has a job. And, he says, let me cross with you. Or he talked about helping people cross over. And starting with the man who sold candy at his school, who people walked right by. And he became friends with that man. With his mother, who was subject to domestic violence, he helped her cross over with his jokes. And he kind of helped explain the origins of Medea. And Medea is this much maligned character. But y'all know, you've probably laughed at some Medea jokes, because Medea speaks very closely to our experiences as black people.
Yes.
His movies do. Some of the houses are ridiculously big. Some of his movies do. Now, I'm not saying every aspect of the movies do. But even though we can say that even when his movies are not the most artful, even when they're not the most funny, there are aspects of his movies that we can relate to.
Absolutely.
We can relate to the religiosity of the movies. We can relate to some of the ways that our families come together and the community comes together. Sometimes, he could use some additional writers and all of that kind of stuff. But I'm just saying that when you really look at what he's doing, he's making movies for regular black people. He's not making deep movies. You don't have to get a thesaurus to understand what happened, and you don't have to have think pieces on it because you know exactly what it was. There's something to be said about somebody who's creating art for the masses as opposed to art for elites. And sometimes we don't even call it art when it's for the masses.
He's done an amazing job.
Phenomenal.
And hats off to him once again. The amount of black actors and actresses who are now employed because of Tyler Perry
Studios
is amazing. Tyler Perry Studios. Taraji Henson has gone on record multiple times saying that Tyler Perry Studios and Tyler Perry himself was the first studio that actually pay her what she thought she was worth, and that was over $1 million. She made her first $1 million working on I Can Do Bad Up on Myself with Tyler Perry. And it was a starring role for her. And of course, Taraji Henson is this versatile, amazing actress that is beloved in this community. So Tyler Perry gets nothing but applause from my book.
Me too. I just love him.
Me too.
And it just makes me wonder, though, we're talking about Detroit, right? And
Absolutely.
we're in our community, blackest city in America still. And, historically, we've had a lot of black talent and a lot of black wealth and capability. And we have a lot of land. We have a lot of opportunity here. And the question is going to be how we focus our efforts on building parallel systems of opportunity, or do we spend our time focusing on fighting the inevitable?
Yeah.
Because what's happening downtown and midtown and in some neighborhoods, that's inevitable. You can spend your time fighting that, you're going to lose. Let me, I hate to.
I think it's because that's the look of most majorities. Like if it's a big city, your downtown is gonna look like that. It's unfortunate.
It's just the way money works.
It's how it works.
Invest in money. We don't need to spend. We can. There's. How many times will we complain about what is inevitable?
Yeah.
That's the way things are. But the way they aren't in neighborhoods, like so many neighborhoods across the city, they don't look like that downtown. You have how many homes in the land bank, how many vacant lots, how many vacant industrial buildings, how many vacant schools. How do we harness our vision, our awareness of the inherent injustice in some systems, and then say, okay, so we're going to do something that does not demand that those systems change, but demands that we come together and we create something for ourselves.
Yeah.
I think it is what else? The end of his speech was the ownership part.
Yeah.
And it's, I think once you get to a certain plateau of, economic freedom for yourself, it's how are you now going to take that and reinvest it into your community? Like if you really want to like walk the talk, then it's like it's reinvesting in your community. So someone told me this, it could be wrong, you guys would know. It's like you buy this vacant lot in the city, right? It's like a discount for the lot next to it or something. Is that true? Or
You get a side lot. Okay, yeah.
So it's...
If you buy a vacant lot
Mm-hmm.
and not a vacant home, it's hard to get a side lot. And that's where having partnership with nonprofits comes into
community
play,
partners.
because community partners can purchase a bundle of vacant
Gotcha.
land. Individuals cannot,
Gotcha.
unless you know somebody.
I don't. So that's kind of, it's, I think I'm starting to get into certain circles where people are in real estate and they're looking to buy commercial spaces. So I'm always pointing them to these areas like, hey, it's a furniture store that's been sitting vacant for the past 10 years, or it's this, my bad, Orlando.
No, it's just, yes, you're right.
It's a bank right across the street from it that's been sitting vacant. And this area of Mac from Connor to Alter it's really on the cusp of being like a great, I think it can be just a phenomenal mile or 2 miles, whatever it is, of land. And it can be what the 7 Livernois area is. It can be that area. It just takes the right people and investors to come here and create it.
And
Like-
that's we actually have a project for that. So that's a really, really a great segue into that project. It is the MAC Development Consortium. I gave it a name, the MAC Development Consortium, and it's bringing us together with a lot of business owners on this corridor, and also bringing in the Grosse Points, Grosse Point Park, Grosse Point City, and Grosse Point Farms. Now, they may sound contradictory because we talked about systems of oppression, but really when you leverage the wealth that those communities have,
Of course.
and the access to influence that those communities have, and you partner with them to invest in your side of the street, which is the Detroit side. And when you partner with them to raise the profile of this area, you can attract investment. The question is going to be who's going to come here first with their money. We have to be very intentional about trying to attract business owners who service a clientele that's underserved on the east side of Detroit. There are very few places for people to get their hair done. There's, where are the masseuses in our community and the spas, that kind of thing. Where do you go and listen to jazz music on the east side? There aren't too many venues for entertainment. And so really trying to put together a mental profile of what you want the east side to look like. Do we want art galleries over here to feature the work of some of the many artists inside of this community? Even, I have this thing now where I'm trying to think of how to rebrand liquor stores. And that may sound really silly.
No, it doesn't.
You call
They're
yourself
some of the
a
most
liquor
long-standing
store.
businesses in the community, and they're not going anywhere.
If the big sign you have in front of your
Says
building
liquor.
says liquor and lotto, and you're selling food and diapers and paper towel and toilet paper, maybe we need to help you reframe and help you add some products there to help differentiate your store from everybody else. You're selling the same thing 7-Eleven says, but they call themselves a convenience store, and you're a liquor store, and we want to get rid of you. You might be the only store around, okay? The only store I can walk to. So rather than trying to get rid of you, is there a way for us to help rebrand, reframe, and help make that store, the existing tenant, part of the renaissance of the community? We have a lot of barber shops that do exist and beauty shops that do exist. If I could just get some signage so I know what you do and get a sense that what you're going to do is going to be something other than a press and curl, because that's what you look for when you look at a lot of the old beauty shops. And so I think you've got to have this sense that these are stylists that are keeping up with trends and what people are doing right now, that the barbershops, I don't know about barbershops. I've actually never stepped inside.
It's
Is
the same
it the
concept.
same?
It's the same concept. Are you staying on top of new treatments that you can get? Like, it's not always the same. Like, things elevate, like technology changes. So, like, I want the cape with, I can look at my phone. Like, all right, I have to respond to emails while you're cutting my hair. So it's a cape where have you seen it?
I have not.
You haven't seen the cape? It's like it's clear. So the cape is like, it has a clear.
You can see the phone.
You can see your phone. So you can be on your phone under the cape.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's just like those things I think certain old school barbershops probably won't have. But barbershops that's staying with the times, that have a charging station.
Yeah.
They have Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Just something that really doesn't take away from the essence of the barbershop, but just adds to it.
Adds
so
value.
It's just like with the liquor store. You're absolutely right. I think Canada has they don't call their liquor stores liquor stores. It's like a beverage depot or something. Yeah, it's like a beverage depot. Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about what's in the news, and the news is always interesting. But we have a couple topics I think we want to get to. We talked a little bit about reparations, but we have not talked about tax foreclosure and evictions in the city of Detroit. Do we want to talk about that or leave that for next time?
I think we're already at 49 minutes, and so I think we should figure, let's bleed that over to next week.
So what I'm going to recommend is that you come to our Facebook page and look, and we're going to give some links to some materials for you to read so that you can be more familiar on what's happening. If you don't understand the history that you've experienced, it makes it a lot harder to resist it.
Ooh, talk about it.
All of us, every single person in the city of Detroit, not just long-term Detroiters and black Detroiters, but every Detroiter has an opportunity to understand what happened from the perspective of the people it happened to, and also from the perspective of the law. And we want to share that with you, not to, and I want to be real clear about this as we prepare to close out. We are not trying to shut down the welcome to anybody who wants to come into the city of Detroit.
That's right.
It's a big city, 139 square miles.
We got a lot of room.
Lots of room.
Mm-hmm.
What we are trying to say is that when you come to Detroit, coming into our community as equals, coming into our community respectfully, and trying to understand the culture, the history, and the value that people who have been here all this time see in our community is really important. We love Detroit. Detroiters love Detroit.
All day.
Okay? So you may not have seen what we loved about Detroit, but we love Detroit. And
Yes,
the most
we do.
important thing we loved about Detroit is Detroiters.
That's right.
And so when
Our
our
greatest
people,
asset,
our
our
greatest
people.
asset is our people. We love our people. We love our culture. We love our history. If you want to learn more, we're going to, through Authentically Detroit, try to help those people who haven't known learn more about how we think. And it's not, again, meant to in any way tell people who are not part of that you don't belong.
Facts. So, Donna, you wanted to very quickly touch in your biweekly political roundup about this process that we're going through with the Detroit City Charter. Yeah.
Yes.
It's been fun, right?
So I spent the past couple of days looking at this 2-minute clip trying to figure out who was snatching what from who in a meeting where there was a whole lot of shouting and screaming going on.
That's all of them.
And it kind of reminds me of when I had children. I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, and she started it, and I know JG gets this in the classroom. Well, they started it, and somebody may have started it. And I would talk to my kids about, how to respond if somebody else starts something. That nobody can make you respond. It's not what they do, it's how you respond that you're going to be judged for. And so it's a real plea for people who are sitting at the Charter Commission and also people who go to the meetings. That we can either work collectively to try to solve problems in the city, or we can spend a lot of time fighting each other. And the only people who win when we do that are people who have an agenda that is not dependent on our liberty.
Yes. because the current process, I'm going to say it is an embarrassment to Detroiters. It is an embarrassment to the city of Detroit, what is happening throughout this charter process. It is my hope that we figure it out, get it together, and move forward in a productive way. But how it's currently going down, it is an embarrassment, and it needs to stop. It needs to stop.
And beyond being an embarrassment, because, it is a loss of opportunity.
Yeah, it's
There is a
counterproductive.
lost opportunity for people who have been elected to figure out how to create a fair structure of government in a city that is rapidly changing.
Yes.
To really bring those issues to the people instead of highlighting personal dislike of various people sitting around the table. I don't have I don't have any interest in this other than good government in the city of Detroit and wanting to see it, and a belief that leaders carry themselves in a certain kind of way. I'm going to cross my fingers and hope this is true. There are times when all of us have been tested. I'm never going to grab anything from you or curse you out or tell you off like that in public because, that's me doing it. And if everybody takes accountability for their actions and decides I'm not going to be part of it, maybe we'll have something different.
Yeah, it is my hope. All right, so we're wrapping up this episode of Authentically Detroit, powered by the Eastside Community Network. We'll be coming back at you in a couple of weeks. Again, we release a new episode every other Tuesday. Get it ingrained in your mind, just like church. Eastside shout-outs. Anybody got shout-outs? Shout-outs. We want to shout out Catrice Stafford from the Detroit Free Press, who recently just got appointed to
she got a fellowship.
A fellowship, yes.
She got a fellowship, and she's going to be focusing on housing in Detroit.
Yeah.
Catrice does a great job of investigative reporting. A black woman from the East Side, an investigative reporter telling stories and helping to lift up the profile of our community and talk about what's happening here matters. Because whose story is it? Is it our story or is it his story? And what she's found a way is to lift up issues and to be part of this community. So we really appreciate her.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Kat, and congratulations. I want to shout out Van Jones. I had the opportunity to meet CNN commentator and show host Van Jones a couple of weeks ago. He was a keynote at the State of Affairs breakfast hosted by Triumph Church, but I actually had the opportunity to talk to him a little bit. Not at length, but just a little bit, and just a pleasure. Thank you for coming to Detroit. Thank you for loving Detroit, and thank you for the phenomenal speech that put us on alert into the 4 pillars of power that are in play in this country. That we talk about the political machine in D.C. We talked about the finance industry in New York. We talked about Silicon Valley and the tech boom. And we also talked about Hollywood that controls the narrative. So thank you for that bit of education. And we hope to see you again soon, Mr. Van Jones. Shout out to you for coming and being a very active part of our community while you were here. JG, you got any shout outs?
Shout out to you guys. I mean, this show is phenomenal. I think it's for the culture by the culture. So it's very refreshing to hear and to witness, the knowledge that you are bestowing onto people is just phenomenal. So thank you to you guys.
Thank you, JG. So if you have a topic, if you have a news item that you want us to discuss, you can hit us up on Facebook at the Eastside Community Network, or you can email us authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. We are also Authentically Detroit on Twitter and Instagram. Again, you should subscribe to our episodes on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and all of the other digital platforms. We look forward to talking with you next time. Have a good one, Detroit and the world. We'll see you.